guys, tonight I'm going to read you some Irish folklore, which is basically Irish mythological story called The Children of Lir. I hope you enjoy and I hope it helps you get some sleep. A long time ago in Ireland, before the time of the Gael, there lived the people known as the Tuatha De Danann. They were a mystical race with very potent magic, and their king was known as Bo-Derg. King Bo-Derg was a fair and wise king, but one of his nobles, Lir, disliked him immensely. The king was very much aware of Lir's resentment of him, but he was wise enough to know that he needed to keep his kingdom united. In order to placate Lir and soothe his resentment, King Bo-Derg decided to give him one of his daughters as a wife. Lir was indeed pacified, and of the two most beautiful daughters of Bo-Derg, he picked Eve. Although it was a marriage of convenience, a great love grew between Eve and her new husband. In time she bore him a very beautiful daughter, Fionnuala, and 3 handsome sons, Eig, Con, and Fiachra. The family was filled with happiness and love, but as always, sorrow has a way of seeping into a happy heart. Eve fell ill and died, breaking not only her children's hearts, but also tearing the heart of Lir into little pieces. Bo-Derg was astounded at the love the family had for his daughter and for each other, so he decided to give his second daughter, Aoife, to Lir. Thinking that Aoife would be as kind and as gentle as her dead sister, Lir accepted her as his new wife. He really hoped that in time he and his bereft children would grow to love Aoife as much as they loved Eve. Now Aoife, as beautiful as she was, did not have the same gentle soul as her sister. She saw how devoted her new husband was to his children, and the love the children had for their father. Her heart was filled not with love and devotion, but with a deep burning jealousy. Aoife wanted all of Lir's love for herself, and she came to hate her niece and nephews from the bottom of her rotten heart. So when she and the children were returning on a visit to the house of her father, Bo-Derg, Aoife decided the children should die. Aoife ordered her servant to slay her stepchildren, but when he refused, she decided to do it herself. However, when it came to doing the deed, she found that she didn't have the courage, so decided to use magic upon them instead. She conjured up all the power she could and cast a spell upon the poor children, turning them into swans and binding them to live 300 years on the waters of Loch Davrock, followed by another 300 years in the north on the Shrona Mela, flying between the coasts of Éire and Alba. Even after 600 years, they were not to be freed from their curse, but they would have to spend another 300 years in the west, on the wild seas of Loris-Daman and Inishglura. Aoife also cast the spell so that it would not be lifted until the children would hear a bell ring announcing the arrival of a new religion. Satisfied that the children were out of the way, she continued on her visit to Bo-Derg. When he heard what had happened to his grandchildren, Bo-Derg was incensed, and though he could have killed his daughter there and then, he decided that was not punishment enough for her. He in turn decided to use magic, and he cast his daughter Aoife away from him and all mankind by turning her into a demon of the air. For 300 years, the 4 beautiful swans lived on the calm waters of Loch Deverach, feeding on sweet grasses from the green fields around and the fish within the lake. Their father, whose love for them never waned, came and spent time with them until it was his turn to leave the world, leaving them heartbroken once more. Time had come for them to fly northeast of the stormy stream of Moella, where the gales sweep through from the icy north. Here, for 300 more years, they lived on the storm-wrecked shores of Ireland and Scotland. This time there was no father to comfort them. They only had each other. The time came for the sweet and beautiful children of Lir to fly west to the stormy western sea. They settled on Inishglura, and for another 300 years they feed upon wrack and fish on the coasts of that terrible sea. Their sorrow was unbearable, but one day something different happened. As the 4 swans fed, they heard a noise, a pleasant clanging noise. Although they had never heard anything like it before, they knew what it was, a bell. They just knew it was a bell, and they realized that their time of freedom was at hand. They went towards the source of the noise and saw that someone approached them along the shore. The strangers on the shore was unlike anyone they had known before, most certainly not from the Tuatha De Danann. He had a tonsured head and wore a rough homespun habit tied around the waist with a rope. They spoke to him in greeting, surprising him, and he asked them who they were. They related the saga of their misfortunes, and he felt a great pity and love for them, and in turn told them that his name was Quaevog. The De Danann were no longer on the land, but had retreated into the Sai underworld. The children of the Gael now held the land, and the old gods were no more, for Patrick had come to Era, bringing news of the Christ child, who was the true God. Quaevog was a monk, and he asked the swan children to go with him to his kill. There he would look after them until the day the curse would finally be lifted from them, and to this they agreed. As they patiently waited, the monk explained the new religion to them. One day a warrior entered their life, shouting that he was Lurgan, the king of Connacht. He wanted the swan people as a wedding gift for his new wife, Deoch. Quaevog stood in front of the king and rebuked him, saying, "You shall not have them." And then he rang his bell a second time. Immediately the swan's feathers fell away, and they returned to human form. All the years that the children of Lir had lived began to show on their bodies, and they aged very quickly. Lurgnan fled in terror, but Fionnuala and her brothers each urged the monk Quaevog to baptize them. They knew that very soon they would perish, and Fionnuala instructed the monk as to how they should be buried. Fionnuala placed in the middle, with Fiachra and Con on either side of her. Egg was put in front of her, and this is how 4 of the Tuatha De Danann entered into the kingdom of heaven. The end. So that was the children of Lir. If you enjoyed that, let me know in the comments and I can read some more folklore stories. Sweet dreams.